Okay guys, so we're back to start working on the body of the bunny. This is what you should have at this point: your 2 ears, your 2 arms, and your 2 legs. So now we can actually start making the body and attaching all these pieces. So you can put away your arms and your legs for now, and then we'll be needing our ears for this very first row that we're going to be starting with. So I still have my loom set up like this. So I put the smaller extenders at the very top and the very bottom so that I have a larger opening here, even though it really doesn't matter because this design is growing up. So, but I just like to have it be hollow in the center because before it starts growing up, it's going to go down a little bit until we can, until we're able to pull up his head. So I just don't like it to get too scrunched up in there. So in total we're going to be working on, let's see, I've got 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think a total of the 11 bar pins, so that's why I'm using the smaller extenders here. So we're going to need at one point we're going to be needing, I think, all of these. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to need these pins, this area here. So let's start on this and just follow along with me. We'll start with the head. The head will be the very first part of the rabbit that we're going to be doing. So you'll also be needing your eyes. We're not going to need them just quite yet, but it will be in this portion. So, and we are going to have to lay our fur, just like we've been doing it with our other body parts that we made. So let's start off with our first. Now our first one that we're laying is going to be a double looped band. And I am going to lay that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gonna lay that right here. And you gotta do the figure 8. So I started on the 4th pin down. So that's a double looped band. My next band is going to be just the regular 2 bands. And again, these all need to be in the figure 8 for now, for this row. I'm doing another 2 bands. Going to do another 2 bands. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to do another 2 bands. Okay, and then the next band that I lay down is going to be a double looped band. And I'm doing the figure 8. So I did, my first one was double looped, and then I did 4 regular, and then a double looped band. And you know what? We aren't going to need all of these barbins, all of these pegs. We'll just need to be able to have one. Let's see. Just make sure you have space so that we can expand one more pin up from this design, this part here. Okay, so our next band is going to go across, and that is a double looped band. Okay, our next band going this way is going to be a double looped. Okay, our next 4 bands are going to be regular double bands. So there's 1. Here's 2. There's 3. And 4. And then the next one is going to be a double looped band. And then to close it off here, it's going to be a double looped band. Okay, now you're going to need to push these down because we need to make our X's across, and then we're going to have to lay our regular row on top. So we need that space. Okay, and now this is where we want to start adding our ears. So get one of your ears, it doesn't matter which one, just make sure you've got the top is where we have all those tying off bands, just make sure that's on top. So we're going to be placing it here with our X's. So what we want to do is go into a space in the bottom of the ear. So I'm just going through some loops at the bottom on the left, and then I'm going to put bands through the right as well. So just take 2 bands, stick your hook through a spot in the bottom, and just pull it through. And then go on the opposite side. Grab 2 more bands and pull those through. Just like that. You can't see them because they're kind of disguised by the fur bands, but how we want to place these is the first bands that we brought through the ear, which are the ones on the left, are going to go from this pin to this pin. So from here to here, diagonally. So if you can find the bands that you just pulled through, and just stretch them over. So we've got it like that, going across. Now we're going to take another set of bands, so like we're doing the fur, and we're going to place that on from this pin to this pin here, and make sure you do your figure 8. Okay, now for this next set, so from our second pin to our third pin in the back is going to be where we place these bands that we pulled through on the right side of the ear. So try and find those. Place one end on the pin and then the other end back there. Okay. So now your ear should be pretty stable. And then we're going to take our fur bands and go right across on top of that band that we just placed and do our figure 8. Okay, so we're just going to do a regular X across. So I'm just continuing down with my X's and adding my fur at the same time. And make sure that you are doing your figure 8 here. The bands that we used that were in the ear don't need to be figure 8 because they're attached to the ear, but all the other bands that we lay that aren't attached to the ear need to be in the figure 8. So we're going to do another X. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so I need to add on my other ear. So we're going to go through, again like we did with our first ear. Just find a spot in the left and stick 2 bands through it. And then on the right, make sure you're going through several bands, that way it's not just hanging on to like a couple of bands. It will be really wiggly if it does that. So, okay, so our first set that we pulled through on the left side is going to go from this pin across to this pin. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th pin on the front and the 6th pin in the back. Okay, so I've got that on, and then I got to make my the rest of my X here. So I'm going to make my little fur band. I'm going to go right on top of the one that I just laid and do my figure 8. Okay, and then my next set that's in my ear is going to go from my 6th pin in the front and the 7th pin in the back. So just find your bands. And I didn't do this with my first rabbit. So hopefully it works out. The reason why I'm doing it like this is to give it more, so that it won't be as floppy. Okay, and then let's finish up our X, our last X. Okay, so we've got our ears on. Again, push your bands down as far as you can, because now we have to lay a regular row across on top of these pins. So we're still keeping with the same positions for our double looped bands. So our first one that we're going to lay is going to be a double looped. And I'm just going to lay it on my very first across. I'm sorry if you can't really see this that great because the ears are in the way. Hopefully that will get better as we go along. And then this from here to here is going to be a double looped band. Okay, our next 4 sets are going to be just the regular double bands. So there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And 4. Okay, and then our next one will be a double looped. Okay, now from this pin to this pin is a double looped. I'm just going to turn this around. From this pin to this pin is a double looped. Oops. Okay, our next 4 are going to be just double bands. And I have an ear for, okay, so this 1. 2. 3. 4. Now from this pin to this pin is a double looped. Okay, so now we need to flip our bands over. So on your first pin here, just remember that you always want to end up with 4 bands left on your pin. So we're going to be flipping over our figure eight bands, and then we've got 4 more bands that we want to flip over. Go. Our second pin here is going to be 2 figure 8 bands, and then 4 on above that. Same with this one, it's going to be our 2 figure 8 bands. And my hair is getting in the way, and your fur is probably getting in the way too. And then 4 bands. 2 figure 8, so there's 1 and 2, and then 4 bands. Here, 2 figure 8s, 2, and then 4 bands. Here we have 2 figure 8s. So there's 1 and 2, and then we have 4. And then here is 1 figure 8 and 4. Now we can start with the back, and it's going to be the same thing. So our first pin will be the 1 figure 8, and then the 4. Our second pin in the back will be 2 figure 8s, and then 4. Third pin in the back will be 2 figure 8s, and then 4. Same with here, 2 figure 8s, and then 4. Same here, 2 figure 8s. Maybe we can get it. There we go. And then 4. Same thing here. 2 figure 8s and 4. Gosh, it's so like hard to see what I'm doing here. And then here's 1 figure 8, and then 4. And then go ahead and push your pins down, and you should have 4 left on each pin around. So that was our first row around. Those ones are always the hardest, the very first ones, because they're just so congested. So, okay. So our second row around, we're still keeping our double looped bands in the same positions as we did with our first row around. So we'll start with a double looped band. Don't forget your furs. Like that. Our next one is going to be a double looped band again. Our next 4 are going to be just regular double bands. So there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. And then from this pin to this pin is just going to be a double looped band. Okay, now from this pin to this pin in the back is a double looped. The next one will be a double looped band. Our next 4 are going to be double bands. So that's 1, 2. Three. 4, and our last band will be a double looped. Okay, now we can flip the bottom 4 on each pin. I hope you guys can't hear my husband snoring. The bedroom door is closed and you can still, like, I can hear him. Because now it's nighttime. All right, so push your bands down once you've flipped those bottom 4s. And what I'm gonna do is tie, like, just band these ears together for now. Try to get them out of the way a little bit. Not that it's probably really going to help, but. Okay, so we're keeping with the same pattern again with the double looped bands and the regular bands. So our first one will be a double looped. Our next one will be a double looped. And I'm repeating this pattern 3 more times. Our next 4 are going to be regular. I'm just telling you that just in case you want to pause the video and just do it on your own. It's up to you. Okay, my last set in the front is a double looped band. And then double looped from here to here. And then double looped here to here. And then regular double bands for the next 4. One. 2. 3. 4, and then our last one will be double looped. Okay, we need to flip the bottom 4. Push down. Okay, so we need to do 2 more rows like this. So first one is a double looped. Second one will be a double looped. Next 4 will be regular double bands. The last one in the front is going to be a double looped. Get down there. From here to here is double looped. Double looped from here to here. And then the next 4 will be regular double bands. And then our last one will be a double looped band. Okay, and now we can flip the bottom 4 around. Okay, push down. Just be careful when you're pushing these down because your pins, you don't want to break them. I'm going to gently tug on this to see if it will come up a little bit. Or you can push from the bottom, just don't pop your bands off the pin. Okay, so it is starting to come up a little bit. Just trying to find a way to get these ears like sort of out of your way, which is hard to do. Okay, so let's do another row around, just like what we've been doing. So our first band will be a double looped. Next one will be a double looped. Next four are regular. And then our last one in the front is also double looped. These two pins are double looped. First one in the back is double looped. The next four will be just regular. And then our last one will be a double looped band. And then, as usual, we can flip the bottom four. See if this will go up any further. Okay, so for our next row around, we're still following the same pattern with the double looped bands. However, we will just be putting the fur on the bands that go from here to here and here to here, and then the last two on this side. And then of course all along the back we'll have fur. But we want to start clearing up the eye area, just so when we add our eyes, you'll be able to see them and they won't be hidden in the furry areas of the face. So okay, so our first pin will be the double looped, like usual. Our next one will be double looped as well, and we'll add our fur to that one. Next one will be regular, 2 bands with fur. Okay, our next 2 will just be bands, so just 2 bands without any fur. And then our next one will be with fur, the 2 bands still. And then our next one here will be a double looped with fur. Our next set going from here to here will be double looped, and the rest of them will have fur on them. Here to here will be double looped. Next 4 will be regular, double bands. Oops, maybe you can see that. Okay, and our last one here is a double looped. Okay, and I just want to flip the bottom 4. So push your bands down. Now we're going to expand our top two and our bottom two. So we need to pick up, let's see, we need to pick up all 4 of our bands and bring them up 1. Come on. Okay, wait, let me just put those back. These are kind of tight, so because they're double looped. So I'm going to pick up the top one and just place it on the bottom pin for now. And I'm going to stretch this one up once. And then I'm going to take this one and put it back. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take my top 2 bands, bring it down 1 just for now. And then I'll take these here and bring them up 1. And then I'll replace these back. And I'm just doing that so my bands are not crossing. Okay, now I'm going to move down to the bottom here. Got to do the same exact thing, so I'll take my top 2, place them on the pin above just for now, pick up my bands from the pin and move them down 1. And then I'll grab these 2 and replace them back where they were before. And then this one, I'm just going to put, I don't need to take them all off, so I'm just going to stretch it down 1. Oops. Okay. So that's our increase. So this is as big as we're going to get. So I counted wrong. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we're just going to do rows around. However, we're only putting hair on the first 2 bands and the last 2 in the front. And then, of course, hair all the way around the back. We're not doing double looped bands anymore. So my first 2 will have hair. There's 1. There's 2. And then I'm going to do regular 2 bands with just no hair on them, no fur. So there's 1. 2. 3, and 1 more, 4, and then these 2 here, and all the way around we'll have hair. Okay, so now we need to flip. Our first pin here is going to have 2. Be very careful because they are double looped and they're stretched. Our second one is going to have 2. Third one is going to have 4. Fifth one is going to have 4. 4. 4. 4. And then the last 2 in the front are going to have 2. Be especially careful right here. Okay, moving on to the back. The first one in the back is going to have 2. And then 2. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. And then 2. And 2. Push those down. Now in this row we're going to add our eyes. So get your eyes ready. If you're using the pony beads, I'm just going to put 2 bands through the center. That. And if you're using wrap bands, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. If you're using wrap bands, you would just take either 1 or 2 bands, put them on your hook, wrap them around once, grab all of them and wrap them around again, and then grab your 2 body colored bands and slide these onto the center. Get on there. Okay. Just like that, and you would use this in place of the beads. So again, we're putting hair on the first and the second and the last 2 in the front. So there's 1. There's 2. Okay, our eye is going to go right here from our 3rd to our 4th pin. Next one is just going to be plain, no fur. So 4th, 5th. Next one is plain. Next one is an eye. And then the last 2 will be hair. So I put 2 with hair, then my eyes, and then 1 without hair, 1 without hair, my eyes, and then my hair. And then we'll just continue all the way around with our hair all along the back. These ears are driving me crazy. Probably driving you crazy too. Okay, so let's flip all the way around, and we have 4 bands underneath all of them now. Push down. All right, let's see what's around here on 1 and 2. Okay, again, we're going to repeat the same thing. The hair is going to be in the same spot. So our first 2 will have hair. The next 4 will have just nothing, just plain. And then all the way around the rest of it, we'll have the fur. And the nose, I haven't forgotten about the nose. We're actually going to add that separately. Oops, in a little bit. Oops, got a broken band. Alright, let's flip the bottom 4. I'm trying not to talk too much or too loud because it's late at night. I don't want to wake anybody up. So I'm sorry if I'm being really boring right now. Okay, push down. All right, so now what we need to do is see, hair all the way around. So we're just going to do a row around with the hair. We don't need to skip any spots. I'm still like trying to think of how I want to do the nose, because I'm not happy with the other nose. On the white bunny. Coming up to that part soon, so I need to figure it out. I'm kind of thinking about it in my head as we're doing this right now. I don't know if I want it to be like something simple, just like a wrap band, or something like small on the loom. I've already gone through quite a few bands at this point, I think. Let's see. I had like almost 4 bags. a lot for this little guy. Okay, let's flip the bottom 4. And push your bands down. And see if you can pull them up a little bit. Peekaboo, he looks funny without a nose. Alright, so now what we need to do is decrease the pins that we increased earlier. So we're just going to decrease our top 2 and decrease our bottom 2. So we'll just pick them up. So make sure you grab all 4 of them with your hook, bring them down to the pin right beneath it, and flip over the bottom 4. Go on the other side, grab your 4 bands off the pin, place them onto your pin right below it, and flip over the bottom 4. Push down, and then go to your bottom pins, and now we're going to bring them up 1. So take it off, bring it up 1, and flip the bottom 4. Let's see, yeah, okay. Now let's do the same thing with this one. Just going to bring them up. And flip the bottom 4. Push your bands down again if they came up a little bit. Okay, so now we just need to do a row around this area here. You get some more pink. Okay, so just regular row around with our fur, of course. And then after our next row, we'll somehow add whatever nose I decide that we're going to make. Head is getting a little bit heavy. Probably could have gotten away with making this entire thing single banded, just because we've got the fur to cover up a lot of like the spots where you would have gaps from the stuffing, but I like to double band it because if one band breaks or something like that, the whole thing isn't going to fall apart. And it's just more sturdy that way with double bands. But even though it takes double the amount of bands, it's worth it in the end. Because if you're going to put all this time and effort into a project, you want it to last as long as possible. Well, at least I do. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'd assume that that would be the case. Okay, so I've got my bands laid down. I'm going to flip the bottom 4 all the way around. Push your bands down. Oh yeah, those are a lot more stable than the other ones. I'm just going to start pulling some of these hairs out now. Actually, I'm thinking we'll add the nose right now. So if you want, you can start pulling the hair, the furs out in the face, so you can kind of get an idea of what he's starting to look like, because he looks kind of funny when all the furs are tucked in. And then we'll add the nose, do one more decrease, and then we'll stuff the head. So I'm going to pause the video so I can figure out the nose really fast. And it'll be real quick for you guys. But yeah, just continue with your hairs. And I'll meet you back here when you're finished pulling them all out. Alright, so let's do the nose, and you're going to need your loom one more time for this. Just, I have one single loom here, and I still have my bunny on this other loom here. So, if you're able to do the ears, you'll have enough. Like, say you only have 2 looms, you'll have enough to be able to do this nose. It's just, I'm sorry that you have to get out your another loom for this part, even though I said we were done with it. But you're going to take whatever bands that you're using for your nose. I'm using the fuchsia, just like I did for the inner ears. And we're just working on like a small portion of the pins. So it's all going to be double looped. So I'm going to double loop. And I've got my, oh gosh, it's so late. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I've got my loom where my middle pin bar is the highest, and then the two are next to it are one peg lower. So it's like an arrow, and the openings are facing towards me. So the first band that I laid down is double looped, and put it from the first top one down to the left. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This is very simple, very, very simple. Okay, now I'm going to go from this pin into the center with double looped. Just like that, and then I'll repeat on the other side. Double loop band going straight center. Okay, and then we're going to cap this off, and we want to wrap it around 5 times. 3, 4, and 5. And you've got to be very careful when you loom this because your cap band is tight, and you also have double looped bands. So if any of these break, then you'll have to make another one, but it's very easy anyways, so just be very careful when you go through the capping band, because that's the part where you're most likely to break your bands. This one is like stuck. Okay. Okay, so I just loomed up in the center and then over to the corners and then over back into the top. I'm going to grab another nose colored band, stick it in through these loops, and tie a slip knot, just using a single band here. Just tie it off very carefully, and then just use your hook pop these off the pins. Try not to distort the shape. Okay, and then so I've got my tying off band. I'm going to go on the other side right across to it where we put our capping band, and I'm going to stick my hook through all 5 of those loops that we made, and then I'm going to take another nose colored band and bring it through and tie a slip knot, and we're going to use these 2 tying off bands to secure it to the face. So basically we're going to just knot it on to the face. So you've got this like little, supposed to be like a little oval shaped, but it's not perfect. So I'm going to place my nose right in the center. I'm going to pretty much put it right where the eyes are, so like in the center of the eyes. So I'm going to lay this almost right up on my pin there and pull through my 2 loose bands through these 2 holes. So there's like solid center here, and then you have holes on each side. Those are the holes that I'm going to pull my bands through from my nose. So I'll just go in through the bottom of my loom, grab one end, and I'll go and through the other hole and grab the other end. And if you like how it looks, like if you placed it correctly, then you'll just go in and tie these bands from your nose into a knot. And you have to try and get as close to the face as possible when doing this, because if you don't, then the nose isn't going to be secured on tight enough. So I'm just pulling this and tying my first knot as close to the face as I can get. Okay, so there's our little nose. Hopefully mine is centered. Okay, yeah, that looks fine. Alright, that wasn't so difficult to figure out. Alright, so let's do, let me see, decrease top 2 and bottom, decrease, okay, so now we need to do another decrease, and it's going to be the same, the top 2 pins and the top bottom pins. Right now we're forming the neck, so we're pretty much done with the face. Now we're just doing the neck. So that's why we're doing all the decreases. So I'm going to pick up my top pin, the 4 bands on that, and put it on the pin below. And then I'm going to flip the bottom 4, push down. I'm going to go on to the other side, do the same thing, and then flip over my bottom 4. Okay, and now I'm going to move over to my bottom 2 pins and move them both up 1 pin. And then flip over your bottom 4, and then the same thing here, move it up. And flip the bottom 4, and then push down. Oh, look at that cute little fish looking at you. I'm going to tie his ears again. I just wanted to see what they looked like. Right. That's probably not even helping. Okay, so now we're just going to do a row around this area here. And then after this row around, let's stuff his face a little bit if you are using stuffing. Which I would recommend doing, just so you can floof him up a little bit. I mean, he's not going to be extremely like fluffy, but it helps with his shape a little bit. so heavy. It has a hard time staying up on its own. All right, let's go ahead and flip the bottom 4. Push down. Now let's put some stuffing in his head while we can, before we get too thin in the neck. So go ahead and grab your polyfil, your tissue paper, your napkins, your paper towels, whatever you're using to put inside the bunny. And you just want to make sure you just put in a little bit at a time. You don't want to go too crazy with this stuff. I know it's easy to do that, but don't want to distort the shape. You want it to help with the shape. So I'm just sticking a little bit in at a time and moving it to the top of the head first. And also make sure you fill in his little, I guess, where his cheek area is, where it comes out a little bit more. Make sure you're sticking some in there. I'm gonna give him a little bit more, and then I think that's good for me. So I didn't use much at all. Okay. So let's continue now, and okay, so we're gonna do one more decrease. Doing the same thing, we're gonna decrease the top 2 and the bottom 2, and this will be our last decrease for the neck. So let's do that. So grab your 4 bands off your top pin, bring them down, 1, and then flip over the bottom 4. Same thing on the other side. Grab your top 4, bring them down, and flip over the bottom 4. On your bottom 2 pins, you're going to bring them up 1 pin. Oh no, don't lose that. Oh, phew. Flip over the bottom 4. And the same thing on the other side. Bring the bottom up 1. Now it's getting a little bit squishy. Try not to be too rough with your loom. Okay. So now we're just going to do a row around. And right now we're on 6 pins altogether. Your head is getting in the way. And the head's going to be in the way on these side ones, so I just bring it around it. Just kind of like wrap it around. Okay, so we're going to flip the bottom 4. Push down. Okay, and now we're going to increase. So after we did that decrease, now we have to increase.